Scheming woman framed pregnant wife, millionaire misunderstood and lost. Her now he lives in regret. Richard Carnegie was a man blessed with wealth, a sprawling empire that stretched from the heart of New York City to the sun-kissed coasts of California. For years, he lived as if nothing could rattle his perfectly balanced world. But behind the gleaming facade of boardroom triumphs and glittering galas lay a secret heartbreak. His beloved wife, Elise, once the sunshine in his life, was gone, driven away by a wicked conspiracy that left her branded as a liar and an opportunist. Now, alone in his opulent mansion, Richard drowns in regret. How did a scheming woman manage to destroy the only love he had ever known? Richard Carnegie grew up in a modest apartment in Queens, New York. His father, Paul Carnegie, had once been an investment banker but lost nearly everything in the economic crash of the late 1980s. Despite their financial setbacks, Paul instilled in his son an unyielding drive to succeed. Night after night, Paul would remind Richard, hard work, discipline, and respect for others are the keys to greatness. Richard internalized those lessons deeply. By age 30, he had climbed the corporate ladder at Winston Baines, a prestigious private equity firm in Manhattan. Few could match his knack for spotting undervalued companies and orchestrating lucrative buyouts. He soon founded his own investment outfit, Carnegie Holdings, drawing top-tier clients and making him a millionaire several times over. During a routine meeting with potential donors for a charity event, Richard met Elise Beaumont. She was a finance graduate from the London School of Economics, but had chosen a more humanitarian path, coordinating philanthropic partnerships. Elise was tall, with a delicate grace and warm hazel eyes that twinkled whenever she spoke about helping the less fortunate. It was impossible not to be captivated by her gentle spirit. Richard fell for her kindness and altruism in a world often ruled by cutthroat ambitions. Elise, in turn, found in Richard a man whose confidence lit up every room, yet still carried traces of that humble boy from Queens. Their courtship was a whirlwind, museum dates, walks through Central Park, and quiet nights spent discussing future projects that might change the world. After just a year, Richard proposed to her beneath a canopy of cherry blossoms near the Bethesda fountain, hiring a string quartet to serenade them. They married in a stunning ceremony held at the Pierre Hotel overlooking Central Park. The press clamored for photos of the dazzling young couple, the philanthropic beauty and the rising finance mogul. Newspapers hailed them as the new power duo. For a while, life was bliss. Elise used Richard's resources to expand her philanthropic ventures, establishing scholarships for underprivileged students and funding healthcare clinics in impoverished areas. Richard soared to even greater financial heights, buoyed by Elise's unwavering moral compass and emotional support. They were unstoppable, true partners in every sense. But every soaring story invites envy. Unbeknownst to them, danger lurked closer than they imagined. A cunning woman nestled herself into their inner circle, determined to take down Elise and seize the millionaire's heart and fortune for herself. Cassandra Wilkinson first crossed paths with Richard at a posh networking event in Midtown Manhattan. She was introduced by a mutual acquaintance, Daniel O'Malley, who worked as a public relations consultant. Cassandra had just joined Winston Baines in a client liaison role, though no one seemed entirely sure what her day-to-day responsibilities involved. With her impeccable style, designer heels, glossy raven hair cascading over her shoulders, and an air of polished confidence, Cassandra had no trouble attracting attention, especially from powerful men. Richard, ever polite, shook her hand and asked about her background. Cassandra offered a beguiling smile. She claimed she was a Harvard Business School graduate and had interned at the World Bank. Her polished diction and precise references to economic theory gave her story some credibility. Yet Elise noticed something off in Cassandra's bright green eyes, an intensity that felt more like calculation than genuine warmth. In subsequent weeks, Cassandra positioned herself strategically, Whenever Richard and Elise attended business functions, she'd ask Richard for investment advice, flatter him with statements about his legendary deal-making skills. Elise tried to remain gracious. She didn't believe in petty jealousy, but she couldn't dismiss the sense that Cassandra's interest ran deeper than professional admiration. Meanwhile, a soft rumor began circulating that Cassandra was vying for an executive position at Winston Baines. She'd bragged to co-workers about her connections in high places. Some found her arrogant, but none could deny that she was effective at charming people. Richard chalked it up to her ambition. After all, he respected the hustle. Elise, however, wondered if Cassandra's ostentation might be masking something else. As Cassandra's presence grew more frequent in their social circle, she began to forge a surprising friendship with Elise, or at least that's how it appeared on the surface. She'd compliment Elise's philanthropic work and show up at charity events to lend a hand. Elise, ever compassionate, tried to see the best in Cassandra, even inviting her to join an advisory committee for a new arts initiative benefiting underprivileged youth. But in private, Cassandra harbored darker intentions. She watched Elise's every move, studying how the woman interacted with donors, with underlings, and most importantly, with Richard. The more she learned about Elise's gentle nature, the more she smirked inwardly. Such kindness, Cassandra believed, was a weakness she could manipulate. She set her sights on systematically discrediting Elise, convinced that if she destroyed the wife's reputation, the husband would be hers for the taking. The trap was set. All Cassandra needed was an opportunity and the perfect lie. The chance to strike came faster than even Cassandra anticipated. One morning, Elise was in the final stages of preparing for a high-profile fundraiser, the Spark of Hope Gala, aimed at raising money for after-school programs across New York's most struggling neighborhoods. Richard, scheduled to be a keynote speaker, had planned to highlight Elise's leadership and philanthropic impact during his speech. As final details were falling into place, a mild panic rippled through the event committee. A set of important financial documents for the evening's auction had gone missing. These documents included item valuations, donor commitments, and tax forms. It wasn't just an inconvenience. Losing them could jeopardize the entire gala and embarrass both Elise and Richard in front of high-net-worth contributors. When Elise asked around, one volunteer recalled seeing Cassandra near the stack of files shortly before they disappeared. Elise's heart sank. Cassandra had indeed offered to help that day, but Elise couldn't imagine Cassandra sabotaging the event. Why would she? Still, the suspicion lingered. In a seemingly unrelated turn of events, Richard received an anonymous tip, a single text message on his private phone that read, "Check Elise's accounts. She's funneling donor money for personal use." Stunned, he ignored the message at first. He trusted Elise implicitly, yet the paranoid part of his mind itched. With millions in philanthropic funds under management, was it possible that Elise had orchestrated some shady accounting? When he brought the matter up hesitantly with Elise, she was devastated. "How can you even think I'd do such a thing?" she said, her voice shaking. "Everything is transparent. We have third-party audits." Richard apologized profusely, saying it was just a strange rumor he needed to address. Elise tried to understand the pressure Richard was under, especially with unscrupulous people always looking to plant seeds of scandal. She assured him that her finances were an open book. She even volunteered to bring in additional auditors. He agreed that might be a good step to protect their reputations. All the same, an uncomfortable shadow hung over both of them. With uncanny timing, Cassandra made her move. When she casually popped by Richard's office at Carnegie Holdings, she feigned concern about Elise's management of donor funds. She claimed she had overheard Elise speaking in hushed tones with a board member about unaccounted money. Cassandra acted reluctant to share details, but said she felt morally obligated to let Richard know in case Elise was being manipulated or threatened. Richard felt the walls closing in. Though he still believed in Elise, the swirl of missing documents, anonymous messages, and Cassandra's allegations began eroding his trust. And Cassandra, smiling inwardly, sensed her plan was unfolding exactly as she had hoped. The Spark of Hope Gala arrived on a crisp October evening at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Dozens of wealthy patrons, celebrities, and community leaders streamed into the grand entrance, greeted by the soft glow of chandeliers and the echo of live jazz. Elise, dressed in an elegant lavender gown, circulated among the guests, her smile genuine as she thanked them for their attendance and donations. In the background, Richard kept a vigilant eye on everything, from the VIP seating arrangements to the hush-hush conversation swirling among certain donors. Rumors had been spreading. Some whispered about missing funds that might cast a shadow over Elise's philanthropic endeavors. Elise tried to dismiss them as idle gossip, but tension radiated from Richard. She noticed how he avoided meeting her eyes for too long, as though wrestling with some internal conflict. She longed to reassure him that everything was fine, though even she began to sense that the night might not go as planned. Just before Richard was scheduled to make his keynote speech, Cassandra materialized at his side. She wore a daring red dress that turned heads, but her expression was all business. Lowering her voice, she murmured, "Richard, I have to tell you something, but promise you won't shoot the messenger. I overheard staffers complaining about Elise's emergency fund from the donations. They said something about thousands of dollars unaccounted for. I'm sorry if this is the wrong time, but it sounds serious." Richard's jaw tightened, panic flashing in his eyes. "We're in the middle of the gala, Cassandra. I can't deal with rumors like that right now." She touched his arm gently. "I know you want to focus on your speech, but maybe it's better to confront it head-on before donors get spooked. Sometimes it's easier to clear the air with transparency." A few minutes later, as he stepped on stage to speak, Richard's anxiety gnawed at him. He delivered a lukewarm introduction, praising Elise's dedication, but he lacked his usual warmth. Elise watched from the sidelines, her heart pounding with both pride and concern. Then, as if on cue, a hush spread through the crowd. A group of donors near the front began whispering and checking their phones. One of them, a certain Lydia Harrington, known for her sharp tongue, stood up and confronted Elise in front of everyone. "Mrs. Carnegie," Lydia hissed, voice carrying across the silent room, "can you explain these allegations about mishandled donor funds? People are saying thousands are missing from last quarter's accounts. I won't donate a dime until you clarify." Elise's face went pale. She stammered a response about audits and the importance of verifying facts, but the damage was done. The crowd buzzed with tension. Richard looked at Elise with uncertain eyes. Cassandra, standing off to the side, smirked behind her champagne flute. The night, meant to uplift countless children, was turning into a PR nightmare for Elise. And the seeds of doubt carefully planted by Cassandra now threatened to bloom into a full-blown scandal. In the immediate aftermath of the gala fiasco, Elise retreated to her office at the non-profit headquarters. For days, she sifted through financial statements, donor lists, and bank records, determined to prove her innocence. The tension was palpable. Staff members whispered in the hallways about possible embezzlement, though most believed Elise's integrity was above reproach. Still, the rumor mill churned. Donors withdrew pledges, or at least delayed them, awaiting clarity. Richard, for his part, struggled between loyalty to his wife and protecting Carnegie Holdings' spotless reputation. He hired forensic accountants to dissect the non-profit's finances. Elise didn't object. She wanted the truth to prevail. Yet each day that passed without exonerating evidence seemed to drive a wedge deeper between them. Meanwhile, Cassandra capitalized on the chaos. She dropped hints at business gatherings that she felt bad for Richard. She claimed to see him as a victim of Elise's reckless financial management. Her carefully chosen words, always disguised as concern, left enough ambiguity for people to draw their own scandalous conclusions. The board of Winston Baines even invited Cassandra to head a new philanthropic liaison department, citing her keen insight into the philanthropic realm. She graciously accepted, attributing her success to her close observation of the Carnegie fiasco. Late one evening, Elise found a USB drive on her desk labeled "Urgent for your eyes only." Plugging it into her computer, she discovered scans of forged invoices and suspicious wire transfer receipts, all bearing her electronic signature. Shocked, she realized someone had meticulously fabricated evidence linking her to the missing funds. She felt cold dread wash over her. This was no misunderstanding. Someone was framing her. Desperate, she rushed to find Richard at his office in Midtown. She showed him the USB drive's contents, voice trembling as she insisted these documents were doctored. He studied the files with a grim expression. "Elise, these look too real. We have your digital signature, your login credentials. The auditors will say you're at fault." Tears blurred her vision. "You can't possibly believe I did this. Richard, I swear on our marriage, on everything we've built, that I'm innocent." He closed his eyes, pain etched into his features. I want to believe you, but how can I ignore all this evidence? And the rumors, the missing money. It's all pointing to you. If it's a setup, who would do this to you? Elise gripped his hands. "I don't know. We have to figure it out. Please, help me." But the lines in Richard's face hardened. "We're hemorrhaging trust. My board, your donors, they're all demanding answers. If you can't produce definitive proof soon, I'll have no choice but to step back from you publicly." Elise felt her world tilt.